Today is the second day of the first month in the ninth year of Chunuguk. Let us offer our Kyongbet, our Heavenly Parent, and our victorious true parents of heaven, earth, and all humankind. 하늘 부모님, 천지인 참 부모님께 경배 바로 let us recite our family pledge.
가정맹세 1. 천일국 주인 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고 본향 땅을 찾아 본연의 창조 이상인 지상 천국과 천상 천국을 창건할 것을 맹세하나이다. 2. 천일국 주인 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참 부모님을 모시어 천주의 대표적 가정이 되며 중심적 가정이 되어 가정에서는 효자, 국가에서는 충신, 세계에서는 성인, 천주에서는 성자의 가정의 도리를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 3. 천일국 주인 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고 4대 심정권과 3대 왕권과 황족권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 4. 천일국 주인 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님의 창조 이상인 천주 대가족을 형성하여 자유와 평화와 통일과 행복의 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 5. 천일국 주인 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고 매일 주체적 천상세계와 대상적 지상세계의 통일을 향해 전진적 발전을 촉진화할 것을 맹세하나이다. 6. 천일국 주인 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참 부모님의 대신 가정으로서 천운을 움직이는 가정이 되어 하늘의 축복을 주변에 연결시키는 가정을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 7. 천일국 주인 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고 본연의 혈통과 연결된 위하는 생활을 통하여 심정 문화 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 8. 천일국 주인 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고 천일국 시대를 맞이하여 절대신앙, 절대사랑, 절대복종으로 신인의 일체 이상을 이루어 지상천국과 천상천국의 해방권과 석방권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
For the opening prayer, may I call on our regional leader of Region 10, Mr. Edmond Cañete.
Let us pray. Good morning to you, our loving Heavenly Parents. Our victorious true parents have given earth and humankind. Lord, seeing us all gathered together now as one family could have been one of your cherished dreams for thousands of years. That's why, as one family, we would like to express our love, our sincere gratitude to you and to our true parents. Because of our true parents, we could not have understood all of this. With the truth we have learned, our individual values as your children, as well as the value of creation as the expressions of your truth. Our loving Father, thank you for everything that you've given to us. Thank you for the task and responsibility. Now you have given us the task and complement the hard work of the victorious and investment of our true parents in order to of total salvation of the world. Father in heaven, use us as your instrument, an embodiment of truth of our true parents, rather than become the true contributor to this golden age. We are truly grateful to our beloved true parents, to our leaders, elders, and brothers and sisters. Thank you, Lord, for believing each and every one. Lord, please don't worry to us. We will do our best. We will invest our utmost heart with humility together in order to make you be delighted with us, not only for the moment, but throughout our lifetime, and raise our future descendants to continue this endlessly. Thank you, Lord, for trusting us. Absolutely. We will all resolve to this return this to you. All these things we offered, and I report on behalf of all leaders, elders, brothers, and sisters, in our names, Edmund and Natsuki, blessed and central family, Chu.
True. Let us offer our individual prayer. True. Let us offer our greetings to our Heavenly Parents and parents. Good morning, Heavenly Parents and parents, to all our leaders, elders, brothers and sisters. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, you may now take your seat. To all our brothers and sisters in the center. Once again, good morning. Thank you for joining our morning devotion. This time, our national leader is traveling, going to Cavite, but he will going to join us soon. Let us begin. For our Hunduk reading, may I call on our sister Mariah Aparece.
Good morning, elders, leaders, brothers, and sisters. Reading from the book Mother of Peace, a memoir by Hak Jahan Moon. I have always held high the banner of peace, inheriting the March 1st independence movement's novel spirit of nonviolence and self-determination. Because I live with this sense of urgency, I found myself accomplishing what I would never have imagined possible. Throughout my life, I have done my utmost to fulfill all the tasks that had come to me. I have striven to dedicate myself to living for the sake of others with one heart and one will. I have never given my body the rest it needs. Many were the times I neglected to eat or sleep. My husband, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon, who is often known as Father Moon, was the same. He was born with a strong physique, and had he taken better care of his health, he would have have had more time to work for a better world. But he too followed God's will with unflinching devotion, and this damaged his health, ultimately to the point of no return. Up to 4 or 5 years before his ascension in 2012, he was in continual motion, living each day as if it were 1,000 years. His work was strenuous, both physically and spiritually. For example, he often spent entire nights in a small fishing boat on rough seas. He did this for the sake of others, setting an example for our Ocean Church members as well as leaders who accompanied him. He wanted to help them cultivate patience and the spirit to overcome hardship. Father Moon constantly traveled between continents, and it usually was between East and West, which takes a much greater toll than traveling between North and South. Considering his age, he traveled far, too often between Korea and the United States. He should have limited such trips to once every 2 or 3 years, but he would not consider it. The year before his passing at age 92, he traveled between Korea and America at least 8 times. This was a complete self-sacrifice, offered solely for God and humankind. Father Moon's daily schedule itself was grueling. Every morning, he would rise at 3 a.m., exercise, pray, and study. At 5 a.m., he led hondoke, which means gathering to read and learn, with followers. It was a time of devotional scripture reading, prayer, and instruction. During hondoke, my husband had so much to share that it was not uncommon for it to continue for up to 10 hours, skipping breakfast and lunch. No sooner would he conclude the session that he would grab a quick bite and depart to visit a movement project. In the final years, while in Korea, he would travel by helicopter to Gyeomun Island or Yosu, where we were developing fishing, recreational, and educational facilities. Into his 70s, Father Moon could handle this physically, but in his last decade, it would wear him out, and he would end up with a cold or worse. Of course, he would ignore the symptoms. And then during the summer of 2012, he caught a deep chest cold that was particularly alarming. We should have gone to the hospital immediately, but he kept postponing it, saying over and over, "We can go after this is done." Eventually, the decision was non-negotiable. He had to go to the hospital. His body was already in a very fragile state. He was hospitalized for a short time, but as soon as his medical examinations were finished, he stubbornly insisted on being discharged. We tried to persuade him to stay longer, but he wouldn't listen. "I still have a lot of work to do. I can't just sit here in hospital," he said, scolding the people who advised him to stay. There was no choice but to discharge him. That was August 12, 2012. We arrived home, and all of a sudden he said, "I want to have a breakfast sitting opposite you, Oma." The members who heard this weren't sure they heard him right, because I always sat next to my husband during meals, not facing him. And then when the food was served, my husband seemed uninterested in eating. He just gazed at me as if he were trying to engrave my face in his heart. I smiled and placed a spoon in his hand and something from the side dishes on his plate. "These vegetables are delicious, so take your time to eat," I said. The next day, the sun was unusually strong, even for midsummer. In the oppressive heat, Father Moon toured parts of our Chunwon complex on the shores of Chongpyeong Lake, accompanied by an oxygen tank larger than himself. Upon his return to our home, Chongjonggung, he asked me to bring a voice recorder. With the recorder in his hand, he fell into deep thought for 10 minutes, and then little by little began recording his thoughts. He stated that when we transcend the history of the fall and return to the original Garden of Eden, following only God, we can then move in the direction of the kingdom of heaven. He also proclaimed that we can restore nations through fulfilling the mission of guiding our tribes. It was a soliloquy and prayer that embraced the beginning and the end, the Alpha and Omega. Everything has been accomplished. I offered everything to heaven, he said in closing. Everything has been brought to its consummation, completion, and conclusion. This turned out to be True Father's final prayer. With it, he brought his life to a close. Breathing with some difficulty for a moment, he squeezed my hand tightly. Mother, thank you. Mother, please take care of everything. I'm so sorry, and I'm truly grateful, he said, struggling to get the words out. Again and again, he said those same words. I held his hand more and more firmly, and with warm words and loving eyes, holding back the tears, I reassured him that everything would be all right. Don't worry about anything. On September 3, 2012, my husband, Reverend Dr. Sang Myung Moon, ascended into God's embrace. He was 93 years old by the Korean way of counting and was laid to rest in Bongyangwon, which means the garden in the original hometown, beside a pond on Mount Chongsong. I had often slipped into deep thought gazing at the moon rising above Mount Chongsong. I cut it down with a jade axe and trim it with a gold axe to build a small cottage where I attend my mother and father. I want to live with them forever. I repeat this poem to myself over and over. Wildflowers smile on a mountain path. It's been raining a lot and the path will be slippery. My assistant informed me. Why don't you just rest today? Of course, she was concerned for my safety, and I thanked her but continued my preparations. In autumn, we have heavy rainstorms, and snow falls in the winter. There are countless reasons and excuses to stay inside. Regardless, after his passing, I departed my room each day at dawn for prayer at my husband's tomb, and upon returning, I prepared his breakfast and dinner. As I walked along the path up the hill to the Bongyangwon and back, he and I shared many heart-to-heart conversations. My husband's thoughts became my thoughts, and my thoughts became his. Korean bonsai pines lined the path to the Bongyangwon, and underneath them, clusters of wildflowers bloomed in the spring. During the winter, wildflowers disappear, but in spring, they bloom profusely, as if competing with each other. I would stop on my way up the steep incline to take a closer look at the grasses and flowers. They display their colors beautifully in the spring's bright morning sun, whether I was there to admire them or not. I would become intoxicated with their beauty, caressing the wildflowers before resuming my ascent up the path. The walk was difficult, but my heart would be as serene as the flowers. When I would reach my husband's tomb, I would carefully check to see whether any weeds had sprouted among the blades of grass, or whether animals had left any traces. The lawn on the grave became greener and greener as time went by. Sitting alone in front of his tomb, I would pray for everyone in the world to be as beautiful as wild flowers, to have minds as strong as pine trees, and to always live prosperous lives as green as a summer lawn. On my way down, I would say farewell to the flowers and pine trees. My friends of the natural world, I will meet you again tomorrow. The path I would walk was the same each day, but the weather was never the same. There would be days when I felt the warm rays of the sun. There were windy days, rainy days when thunder roared and lightning struck, and snowy days covering everything in white. During this 3-year period of devotions, I also retraced my husband's travel throughout the United States, traveling nearly 4,000 miles as my husband had done in 1965, and visited the 12 mountain peaks we had toured in the Swiss Alps to pray and meditate. Through these devotions, our spiritual oneness deepened into eternity. In traditional Korea, offering such filial devotions in remembrance to one's deceased parents was expected. Representing the family, the first son would build a small hut just to the west of his father's or mother's tomb and live in it for 3 years, regardless of the weather, even if unable to eat properly or make a living through this period. Those 3 years represent the 3 years after we are born, when we receive our father's and especially our mother's full love and care, without which we would not have survived. This time of devotion is a time to acknowledge, show gratitude, and return that love and kindness. Today, there are too many people who forget their fathers and mothers' kindness. From those who lack filial piety toward their own parents, comprehension of Heavenly Parent and the true parents, who have shed tears over humanity's suffering, cannot be expected. People today live without any connection to the true parents, not knowing that they are here on earth. To awaken people who have eyes but cannot see, as my husband's wife, I offer devotions in remembrance of True Father every day for 3 years, on behalf of all people. With this depth of commitment, I promise my husband and all the members of our worldwide movement, I will bring us back to the spirit of the early days of our church, and I will create a revival through spirit and truth. I dream of a church that feels like a mother's warm embrace, a church that is like a home where people always want to come and stay. This is my husband's dream as well. Honoring him, I made the decision to dedicate myself to God and all of humankind even more than before. Since that hour, I have never fully rested. Then in 2015, moved by my husband's unchanging heart, I prepared his gift for humanity. May the Sunhak Peace Prize stand forever as an expression of his eternal commitment to peace. The Sunhak Peace Culture. Looking into the hazy summer sky, I queried what the weather was going to be like the next day. There'll be showers in the morning, I was told, with lots of clouds. With a smile on my face, I accepted that that was how it was going to be. Rain has poured down during many of our Unification Church events. It was more than 40 years ago that heavy showers and strong winds swept through our Yankee Stadium rally in New York. Heavy rain also fell all day during the international blessing of 360,000 couples, as well as during the inauguration of the Women's Federation for World Peace at the Seoul Olympic Stadium. I have grown to accept rain at such times with gratitude as a gift. So it rained on August 28, 2015, the day of the first Sunhak Peace Prize Awards ceremony. That day, hundreds of guests converged in our hotel in Seoul, moving quickly through the downpour, summer's last cleansing gift. Thankfully, when the doors opened, the skies cleared, and this felt like God's joyful welcome to our guests. These were special people, leaders from all fields, gathered from throughout the global village, many traversing long distances for the sake of peace. Everyone desires peace, But peace does not come easily. If it were as a commonplace as stones on the side of a country road or trees on a mountainside, we would never have experienced the terrible wars and conflicts that plague the human world. But bringing peace demands that everyone invest sweat, tears, and sometimes blood. That is why, even though we long for peace, we seldom achieve it. To experience true peace,
Baraya, sorry, you are muted.
my husband and I walk this path and continuing on it, I prepare the Sunhak Peace Prize as a gift for the world from Father Moon. Despite the rain on this first day of the award ceremony, none of the guests could suppress their excitement. They were like little children about to receive a special gift. Everyone was wide-eyed as they greeted the person beside them, one saying, "There are so many kinds of people here. I've never been to a more diverse gathering." And the other, "It's unbelievable. I wonder where that attire is from." The event was an exhibition of the world's ethnicities. The hall was alive with the rushing flow of various languages. Everyone's eyes showed gratitude in behalf of the entire human family. People seeing me for the first time focused on the stage to get a good look, wondering, "Who is this Dr. Hakjahan Moon?" Then they would tilt their heads quizzically. Perhaps they considered my clothes to be no finer than theirs, and that I looked like a typical mother. As I prepared the Sunha Peace Prize project, my utmost concern was that people would understand its fundamental root. To embrace the future, we must expand the scope of vocations that can herald the coming of peace. Even though we may never met our descendants, we must make sure that all their activities will harmonize in peaceful societies and nations. After serious consideration and discussion, the Sunhak Foundation determined its overarching orientation, the peace that transcends the present and builds the future. True peace certainly requires that we resolve the current conflicts between religions, races, and nations. The even greater challenges that we face, however, include the destruction of the environment and demographic trends. The world's leading peace awards focus on solving the problems of the present generation. Yet we must solve the problems of the future in a way that is integrated with a practical vision for a happy future. I founded the Sunha Peace Prize as a bridge bringing us out of this world's maelstrom of
Unmute ka
conflict
na.
and as a compass pointing to a future homeland of peace. Adieu.
Drew. Let's give a hand to our heavily pregnant true parents. Thank you so much, Sister Mariah, for that reading. Yeah. To all our leaders, elders, brothers, and sisters, good morning. Yes, we have a wonderful reading this morning. So, for the 10 points of appreciation, let us welcome our elder from Cagayan, Mrs. Ann Prospero.
Good morning for our beautiful day today. And my greetings goes to Dr. and Mrs. Robert Peter, Reverend Julius Malik Dim, Reverend Ronnie Sodusta, our Vice President for Asia Pacific 2, and all leaders for Asia Pacific 2 and leaders of the Philippines, brothers and sisters, good morning. I am Ann Prospero, who has been connected to the Universal Peace Federation last year after my retirement from the government service for 36 years as a social worker and head of the department. My contact with Miss Grace Mayo and her husband, Edward Mayo, paved the way for my connection to the Universal Peace Federation. And from then on, I was able to experience with their heart of love. They give me a training seminar on the principle of universal peace. I was able to attend the Asia Pacific Leadership Conference and the Women Federation for World Peace. With my exposure to that training, I realized that this is not a way or a day for retirement of my work as a social worker. This is a continuing effort to live with the grassroots, but in addition to the external materialism of what we call quality of life that we give to our clients, what we are going through now is the change of the internal processes of their life. And this exposure made me realize that if social workers only make a sense of the internal work of the life of the poor, then maybe a piece of the community, of the family, will be within the grasp of the integration of the mainstream society. There will be no vowsy, there will be no separation of marriage, there will be no conflict of the youth if all of this are given to the community and families. So my deep gratitude is given to the World Peace Federation in our leaders in Region 10 and all leaders in the national level because I was able to participate in the mobilization in Region 10 for the 1 million Rally of Hope. We visited local executives and the experience moved me that initiating and leading the way for leaders in the government and other stakeholders with grassroots involvement energize our spirit and actively energizing also our whole being as we are confronted in meeting the goal against time. Time never constrained us achieving our target in sharing a portion for the 1 million Rally of Hope Philippines. And with this experience, we also motivate the local government unit executives to join us in the 1 billion tree planting and growing. So we will be back and visited their offices for the memorandum of agreement. Now, leading people for possible awareness and change in the internal and external outlook in life raised my consciousness and awareness to the heavenly purpose. And I am grateful to the true parents, Reverend Moon and our Mother of Peace, to nurture all this principle and spread this gospel or to the whole world. And we might be only a portion of the 7 billion people in the world, but the change that we will have in the future may be the cause for the united peace of the world. Indeed, I agree with True Parent when I was able to receive the book yesterday or the other day in her memoir as True Peace, Mother of True Peace. That peace could not be achieved without sacrifice, without tears, and without even blood. It is a full-time resolution of ourselves to really direct others for the continuing challenges of making peace as the center of our life. And our two parents, father and mother, Moon, have been processed by God to receive their mission on earth in promoting peace around the world through faith to our heavenly parent, our God. As the reading of the book of Mother as our for Mother of True Peace, I realized that there is always God's destiny of everyone. And I'm happy that my destiny after retirement for 36 years is in the sector of working for peace in Region 10 and even in Mindanao. Now, the World Peace Federation I encountered make me having a sense of purpose after retirement. So I'm grateful that I learned and the universal principle of peace. I'm also grateful to understand the meaning of true love, true life, and true lineage. And more, my deep gratitude for the Universal Peace Federation for mobilizing people of the world to universal peace. And I pray to God that as we continue to work, the Heavenly Parent and the True Parent's guidance will be with us for this time of the world, which is so challenging. The pandemic is there, the war is there, conflict against political leadership is there. So we pray and hope that even within these challenges, peace could also still be achieved through our effort and initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Anne, for that sharing. Let us give a hand to our Ma'am Anne. Thank you so much for the fruit of our witnessing in Mindanao. Now, for more inspiration and guidance, let us welcome our beloved national leader, Reverend Leo Angelo Halo.
Nakikita yan?
Yes, sir. Slideshow niyo na po.
Good morning, our Heavenly Parent and True Parents. Good morning po to all our leaders and brothers and sisters. Nice to meet you all. Happy New Year po ulit sa inyo. I would like to really thank si Ma'am Ann. Thank you very much, Ma'am Ann, for inspiring us this morning. You have shared really very inspiring words today. We are really, really grateful po to have you and really work with you together. Maraming salamat po. You just knew UPF very recently, but you could already find that God really gave you this purpose po after your retirement. Really, God, our Heavenly Parent and then True Parents really chose you and really gave you more task, ma'am, to do and really share the blessings in the entire Mindanao. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. God bless you po. Yes po. Yeah,
Thank you
so,
also for accepting me.
yes, ma'am. We are really, really happy and really, really proud po sa inyo. Thank you so much po. Yes, once again, brothers and sisters, good morning to all of you. I'm sorry, maybe my signal is not so good. I'm traveling today actually to Cavite. I just stopped somewhere po dito sa gasoline station. Yeah, but it's good I could connect. So yesterday po was a really very inspiring day for all of us. We received so much love and inspiration from Heavenly Parents and True Parents through our Reverend Hori and our Dr. Kito, our Dr. Julius, Reverend Ronnie, and all our national leaders yesterday who have shared. So Yesterday was the beginning, like the beginning of our Heavenly Asia Pacific 2. And also this year is really important. This year is year of the ox. And then we learned that the ox is a symbol of humbleness, sacrifice, and obedience. So this morning I would like to share with you this topic entitled, Striving for Absolute Obedience to Make My Will as God's Will. So I'd like to begin. Father said, complete obedience has no concept of self. Complete obedience means that a person has no sense of self in front of his subject partner. Everyone should practice obedience. However, while anyone can obey, not everyone can totally surrender him or herself. Only through total surrender can we fulfill the indemnity condition. So, Father is telling us here that really, when we talk about complete obedience, it means that there's no concept of self in front of the subject. Really, this is complete and total self-denial. So sometimes, we are receiving direction, we obey, but what is really in our hearts? Father is saying here, everyone should practice obedience. However, while anyone can obey, not everyone can totally surrender him or herself. Only through total surrender can we fulfill the indemnity condition. So since we are the fruit of the fall of our first human ancestors, we need to actually set up really and pay indemnity conditions. We need to make indemnity conditions. And then the only way, Father is saying here, in order for us to really fulfill that indemnity condition, we need not only, obey, but to totally surrender. Sometimes, as fallen human beings, this is our nature, our attitude. Actually we follow, but actually in our hearts, we complain a lot. We have many, criticism in our hearts because we are fallen human beings. That's why in order for us to really make, complete indemnity condition, in order for us to complete that, we need to totally surrender. This is the attitude that is needed for us. That's why Father is talking about complete obedience. There's no concept of self. The subject is always your priority, right? That's why even though sometimes we are living already long time in our church, in our movement, actually if we cannot nurture this kind of heart, this absolute obedience, it's really difficult for us to complete the indemnity condition that is necessary for us. That's why we cannot see much advancement, much result in what we are doing, right? That's why Father is talking about here, we need to have complete obedience. We need to have complete obedience, completely forget ourselves, and then totally surrender. Totally surrender. This is most important, not only obey. That's why even True Mother is saying, right? True Mother is saying that we need to really unite completely with True Mother. We need to even have one voice. So True Mother is telling us we shouldn't have any degree of deviation. What do we mean by that? Really completely nothing remains within for ourselves, even 0.0.1%. There shouldn't be nothing left for us, but we have to give everything, right? We have to give everything. This is the only way for us to set the right condition and really pay indemnity, and we can move forward. Aju, I think this is really important for us to understand. Father said, God requires of us obedience for our joy. Why does God require of us obedience? It is not to please God, Father said, but for us, for our joy. God puts us in the position of His ideal object partners and gives us responsibility to complete the purpose of recreation. Therefore, we must push away and overcome the elements of the fall. Because the fall originated from disobedience, God commands us to have absolute obedience as the necessary condition to restore it. Therefore, in our religious way of life, we should not complain, nor should we make excuses. We must have absolute obedience. So, learning from our first human ancestors, the fall is started and originated from disobedience. That's why people who always disobey, they are following the same path that our first human ancestors have gone through. That's why Father is telling us we need to do and keep absolute obedience, right? And then Father is saying here, why God is requiring us obedience. It is not to please Heavenly Parent, but actually this is for our joy. for our own happiness. So God gave us this, opportunity. God gave us this position. So no matter what, we need to go with absolute obedience without thinking our own selves. That's why Father said in our way of life, in practicing this, religious way of life, we should not complain. We should not make any excuses, but we need to have absolute obedience. So in order for us to completely separate from the fall, from that path where our first human ancestors have gone through, right? That's why in order for us to separate completely, because they disobeyed, right? That's why for us, practicing this religious way of life, we need to absolutely obey without any complaint, without any excuses, right? But always we need to feel that we are always lacking. This kind of feeling we need to have. And then we are doing this not for Heavenly Parent, but for the sake of our joy and happiness. Aju? That's why Heavenly Parent is always thinking about us. That's why God is requiring us to absolutely obey in order for all of us to be happy and really go to the opposite way where our first human ancestors have gone through that brought tremendous sorrow for them, right? And also to Heavenly Parent. That's why absolute obedience is necessary for us. So Father said, establish the heavenly law in yourself. You should establish the heavenly law in yourself by absolutely obeying in your appointed duties in your daily life and regarding matters of the heart. That's why it's important, our way of life. Right? So Father is saying here, you need to establish the heavenly law in yourself. As we are creating, new culture in our family, in our society, in the nation, in the world, right? But actually, everything begins in us. That's why really the basic lecture that always Dr. Kittle is giving to us, pillars and beam, right? Everything really begins in us. That's why how to really keep this absoluteness, our relationship with Heavenly Parent, right? The proper order of mind and body unity. So based on this, we can establish, really heavenly law in ourselves. Naturally, we will going to fulfill our duties that was given to us in our daily life. And then especially Father said regarding matters of the heart. That's why now we are living in the time where we have to really build, artistic relationship to our spouse, our children. This is the world, kingdom of heaven is really world of heart. So especially Father said regarding matters of heart. That's why one, of the three heavenly law is really not to bring pain to others, right? Not to uh, bring pain to the heart of other people. This is really one of the heavenly law that we need to practice. That's why this law that we wanted to really, the heavenly law that we wanted to inherit from true parents, that we wanted to, apply to the nation, to the world. First, we need to inherit everything from true parents and apply this in our own self, right? This heavenly law, heavenly practice. That's why starting from, kundukhe, studying God's words in the morning, fulfilling our duties as a husband, as a wife, as blessed families. That's why yesterday we learned many things, right? That it's not enough that we will become blessed family. Through Mother mentioned in the message of Sir Julius yesterday, right? But we have to really continue to fulfill our duties, our appointed duties as Chonbo families, as Heavenly Tribal Messiahs. So we need to spread the blessing that we have received. We have to give to our community, to our nation, to the world. So starting from us, really it all begins from us, and then after we develop this heavenly law in ourselves, in our own families, in our society, in our community, in our nation, and in the world. So Father said, our life begins from God. I am not the origin, Father said. My origin must be the being who transcends me, and my purpose must be transcendent of myself. If it were not the case, how could I stand in a position to confront this world? My life did not begin from my parents, my society, tribe, or nation, but from one transcendent origin, God, the absolute being. My will must be firmly connected to his transcendent absolute will. My motivation must not be tainted by any relative factors stemming from history, my circumstances, or the society in which I live. This is really important for us to understand what is our origin. No one in this world came on his own, right? That's why all of us, we have our origin. Of course, we have our parents, we have our grandparents, but ultimately, we all came from the transcendent being, Father said, the absolute being, our heavenly parent. We all came from God. That's why Father is saying here, my will must be firmly connected to His transcendent absolute will. That's why whatever we desire, our plans in our life, what we wanted to accomplish, they shouldn't be separate from the will of Heavenly Parent, because we all came from Heavenly Parent. Like for example, the cell phone, right? How can we know the purpose of the cell phone? Right? So the ones who created this knows exactly how this cell phone will be used. So the purpose of this phone was given by the ones who created this. So the same is true with us. As God created us, right? Very clear, we need to understand we cannot just do things on our own. But everything should be connected to the will of the one who created us, our Heavenly Parent. Right? That's why this is really very, very important. Even Father said here, my motivation must not be tainted by any relative factors stemming from history, like circumstances or the society in which I live in. That's why our purpose should be very, very clear. And then our motivation, once we understand, then everything, our motivation should be connected in fulfilling that will that comes from my Creator. And then I shouldn't be even affected or even be tainted, Father said here. I shouldn't be tainted by any relative factors stemming from history. I shouldn't be, affected from the things that had happened in history and in my circumstances and in the society in which I live in. So only we have to keep absolutely, right? The original purpose why God created us. Everything should be connected from Heavenly Parent. We cannot decide on our own. We cannot do things on our own because everything should be connected from the origin. Once we lost our connection to the origin, like we lose life, right? Everything is connected to Heavenly Parent. This is really important to understand. That's why our entire life, how long are we going to live on earth? 70, 80, 90 years? What should be the purpose of my existence, of my living? Not only, to gain material things, power, knowledge in this world, but how can I fulfill the original purpose that God has given me? Aju? So that's why this is really important for us to understand. That's why in our life now, God gave true parents to us, our true mother. So true mother is fulfilling God's original will and purpose. So we need to align completely with our beloved true mother. And really together, we have to fulfill God's original will and desire no matter what. Whatever circumstances we have, whatever problems we have in our own families, in our barangays, in our society, right? We have to completely align and continue march forward and really fulfill Heavenly Parents' will no matter what. Aju? Aju until the day that, all people can be embraced by Heavenly Parent. All people can truly live in joy and in happiness. This is our original purpose. And really, fulfill the three great blessings, right? And really become a model in this world and really resemble our Heavenly Parent and our beloved true parents. Really amazing. This is very important for us to understand our origin, where we came from. So Father said we need to connect to transcendent cause. Only when a person's origin is linked to the transcendent cause, the transcendent purpose, can he or she live, transcend, and extricate him or herself from worldly circumstances. That's why this is very important. There are difficulties in our life, right? In our families, in our society, really everywhere, especially now because of this pandemic. Many people are really suffering, right? So Father is saying here, especially, if we are disconnected, that's why the key is we have to connect to Heavenly Parent. So Father is saying here, only when a person's origin is linked to the transcendent cause, the transcendent purpose, can he or she live, transcend, and extricate him or herself from worldly, sabi ni Father dito, from worldly circumstances. That's why all the difficulties of this world, all the challenges of this world, if we are connected to Heavenly Parent, we can, eliminate and overcome all these difficulties that, really make our life being challenged, right? So only through connecting, how to really reconnect ourselves to Heavenly Parent, our true parents, right? So without really true parents, we cannot connect ourselves. That's why our Lord Jesus Christ said, right? There's no one can go to the Father except through me. That's why we have our beloved true parents. We have our beloved true mother now. That's why absolutely, like our true mother, we have to look at true mother as our God, right? And then only through true parents, only through true mother, we can be reconnected to heavenly parent. Of course, our faith is there. We are doing our best, but without true parents, that's why we are really trying to reach out all brothers and sisters. We are checking all regions now. Also in Cavite, we will be assigning one provincial leader there, new regional leader, and then we wanted to really reach out all our Blessed Central families, all brothers and sisters. Even though how great we are, how great people we are, how knowledgeable we are, how rich we are, everything we have, if we are not connected to heavenly parent and to our true parents, through our true mother, nothing is can be no benefit we can receive for our descendants. So that's why most important now is our connection to heavenly parent through our true parents, our true mother, right? And then this is the only way for us to extricate, Father said, to eliminate all these worldly circumstances that only focuses with the physical, physical things. But how can we be connected to the eternal things and really be connected to heavenly parent? Aju, that's why our true mother is really, really important. Our relationship now, our life centering on our beloved true parents. This is the most important, our beloved true mother, the only begotten daughter. That's why we are very, very lucky, right? And brothers and sisters, I'm sorry I couldn't speak this speech so much here, and I'm in a public place. But anyway, I'm really, really, really amazed with the guidance of our beloved true parents. This is really very important. We have to really inculcate deeply in our hearts and really practice in our everyday life. So, true Father said, we cannot deny the law. When you are working in a company, what would happen to you if you took the attitude, this work is insane, I will do what I want to do? Living in America, suppose you took the attitude, this country has too many laws that restrict what people can do, I will simply ignore them. What would happen to you? No good can come from denying the rules of work or the laws of your nation. Likewise, no good can come from denying the tenets of religion. That's why really absolute obedience is really very important. True parents, heavenly parents have set up the heavenly law. Even in nature, we can see very clear law of nature. That's why anyone who denies the law, what happens? Father said, no good can come to you, to your family, if you deny. When you deny the law in the physical world, like for example, the law of gravity, you want to try and then you go to the top, top of the building and you try to jump. You want to try the law of gravity, right? What will going to happen to you, right? So that's why there is a very clear law in the physical world and also in the spiritual world, right? Very clear. Everywhere we can see, like Father is giving this example, when you are working, if you just want to do whatever you want to do, you are not following, you are not obeying what your company is telling you, what will going to happen to you? You will get fired. You will lose your job, right? The same is true. That's why as how clear the law in the physical world, the same is true, the law of the heavenly world, right? That's why Father said here, no good can come from denying the tenets of religion. This, heavenly laws, spiritual laws, right? We cannot deny. If anyone will deny this, then no good can come to them. They will surely be ruined, right? That's why it's very important. We have to absolutely obey heavenly parent. Hmm? The thing we need to do as spiritual beings, we have to fulfill it. We have to really follow absolutely. Aju, this is really, really important. So Father said, we are living in two worlds. Everyone must come under the rule of law and the regulations of the workplace. But the laws we follow in the religious life are different. The former are promulgated in this world, but the laws of the religion originate from the other world. The religious life is actually to live in two worlds. Do you understand? You're actually living in two worlds. This is very important. That's why understanding the spiritual world is important. If we didn't study, in science, if we didn't study in school, then we will not going to learn these laws, right? Like for example, the electricity. You are, ignorant. You want to try the current, and then what will going to happen to you? You will going to die if you don't understand this. If you don't study these things. The same is true. That's why different religions, their mission is to teach people the law, heavenly law, so that people, can live well and prepare. Because, Father is saying here, we are living in two worlds, and then we learn that, our eternal life begins the moment we learn God's will. That's why while we are living our physical life, the same is true. We are also living together with our spiritual life. That's why as we follow the physical laws, we need to follow spiritual laws. This is the law. This is the mission of religion. Religion should teach all people, right? Whatever religion you have, whatever denominations you have, then these religious leaders need to teach people to follow the heavenly law in order for them to, live well and prepare when the time comes that they need to separate their physical body and go to the spiritual world. That's why it's very important to understand the spiritual world, right? That's why we are very grateful. This is one great discovery of true parents, right? True parents are the only ones who are teaching very clearly about the spiritual world. That's why we started to, be more serious in how we are living our life, right? That's why we have to always be aware that we are living in two worlds. As we, respect the law in the physical world, we have to respect and absolutely follow the law in the spiritual world. Aju? Aju. So, Father said you must absolutely obey. When you go to the hospital, two beings know your condition well. One is the germ, that is Satan's position. The other is the doctor, who represents God. Should you relate with the germ, Satan? No. You should team up with the doctor, God. Then you have to do what the doctor says. You must absolutely obey. That is the only way. What if you said to the doctor, I'll do whatever I want? You would have to pay a price. So these things we can see in this example of Father, how clear, that we need to absolutely obey. When you are very sick, seriously ill, you go to the doctor, right? And then Father is explaining here like the germ, that represents Satan, in the position of Satan. And then you go to the doctor, and then the doctor represents God. And then the doctor give you some advices. You need to drink this medicine. 1 week you need to drink this. And then what Father is saying here, then, for example, you say, Father said, I'll do whatever I want. I will not going to follow the doctor. I will not going to drink this medicine. I will not going to drink this medicine in 1 week. What will going to happen to you? If you are seriously ill and you are very sick, and then you didn't follow and obey your doctor, what will going to happen to you? Substantially, you will going to die. Naturally, you will going to die, right? If you will not follow, and then you listen from, Satan representing the germs, so the germs represent Satan. Since you are not taking medicine to counter this, then what will going to happen? Satan will continue to flourish in your body, right? And then until your entire body will collapse, and then you will going to die. That's why how important obedience is. We cannot see the effect of this obedience in our, immediately in our life. We, receive direction. Sometimes we follow, sometimes we didn't follow. We didn't see immediately, right, the effect of it. But Father is saying, naturally, if you always disobey, if you are not following, you would have to pay a price. The same is true. Physically, when we didn't follow, immediately we can see. But, spiritually, this heavenly law, when we are not following, we cannot immediately see the effect in our life. But really, we have to pay the price. And then later on, we will going to see this effect. It is accumulated and accumulated and accumulated. That's why in our life of faith, our key is absolute obedience. Really, completely deny ourselves. This is not us, right? The subject, Heavenly Parents, is our subject. And then Heavenly Parents has representatives. We have our beloved true parents, our true mother, the substantial embodiment of true parents. We have to absolutely obey. That's why true mother said we need to go with one voice. We shouldn't have any, even single degree of deviation. I was struck by this when I listened from True Mother. That's the time when True Mother was praying during the opening of Chonbowon in Korea. In the translation, I keep that in my mind, in my heart. There shouldn't be any single degree of deviation, True Mother said. Absolute obedience is really absolute. No, nothing left for you. Even 0.01%, nothing. Everything should be centering on the subject. Complete self-denial. That's why, really, in our life, We will surely progress if we keep absolute obedience. We will surely progress. I assure you. You know, even when I became full-time also, I put that in my mind to absolutely obey. Of course, you know, still a lot of challenge in my life also. Now, to my leaders, also I'm trying to overcome many things. I'm really doing my best, but really when I became full-time, I keep that in my mind, in my heart. Whatever I will do, for the sake of the blessing, for the sake, you know, of Heavenly Parent can forgive all my sins, my ancestors' sins, for the sake of, you know, Heavenly Parent can give me beautiful family, for the sake that Heavenly Parents, you know, can give me heavenly fortune, I will obey absolutely. That's why that I keep that in my mind, in my heart. You know, whatever my leader told me, absolutely follow, follow, follow. I'm not thinking that that is my leader. I always keep all these words as Heavenly Parents' words for me directly. That's why no matter what, you know, when I went to UTS before in IPLC, that time because I supposed to study in IPLC in our Alpha, I supposed to study masters that time. Attorney Celso Talaba invited me there to study. But when I went there, already no more masters because we are not really allowed to offer that one yet. So I became full time. I fundraise and then I became driver. You know, all the things, and then even I'm not really, there are drivers in UTS that time, but these drivers, they're not really that member and willing to sacrifice. So that time, even early morning, you know, I really, you know, absolutely, I forget my family. Actually, that time I didn't really. Ma'am Ann was my leader that time. Ate Ann, we know her very well. She was very strong. And then really, I keep every word of her really as God's words. Anything, any mission, I drive early morning, even late at night, everything, whatever she asked me to do, I absolutely obey because this is what I keep in my mind and in my heart. That whatever the word of my leader, this is really God's words. And then, especially Heavenly Parents, I promise to Heavenly Parent, whatever I will do, I told Heavenly Parent, as long as I will be blessed, you know, I can really build, you know, good family. I can, you know, you can use me, everything that you wanted me to, you know, to do, Heavenly Parent. I really promise this, Heavenly Parent. That's why I really did everything. So I realized really absolute obedience is really amazing. Once you obey absolutely, that is the way that Heavenly Parents can give you the blessing. That is the way that Heavenly Parents can give you truly joy and happiness once you absolutely obey. So I try to, you know, keep that kind of life. Of course, there are still difficulties now as national leader, to my leaders also, how to try my best. Even when I went to IPLC, I am not saying, you know, really I did, but I'm really trying my best. I always remind myself from very beginning when I joined, I became full-time, that Heavenly Parents is the subject, whatever. Because I didn't know 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what will going to happen, right? Only Heavenly Parents knows. The only way for us is to really keep absolute obedience, and then really Heavenly Parents will give you everything, even beyond your expectation. That's why actually we don't need to worry, brothers and sisters. We have to really keep Heavenly Parents' words absolute in our mind, in our heart. Let's really try our best. It's not easy, but actually this is the only way. If you want the easy way, always disobey. But at the end, what will going to happen to you? You will become like Adam and Eve, fall away from Heavenly Parent, the most lonely beings, right? You will become the loneliest. Not only you, your children, your generation. That's why if you think about the future, actually, whatever difficulties you will overcome, and then you will going to absolutely follow Heavenly Parents, true parents, you know, our able figures, right? This line, once you keep this, naturally Heavenly blessing will come to you. This is the only way. This is the way of Heavenly Parent. Aju? That's why very clear from the examples of our true Father. That's why really we have to absolutely obey without thinking about our own selves. No even single degree of deviation. If we keep this, we are bound to become victorious and really create beautiful family, happy family in the future, thrive, and then we can contribute, you know, in our nation and in the world. Aju, Aju. That's why Heavenly Parents, our true mothers with us, we have to absolutely obey and become one with one voice, and then without any single degree of deviation. And then Heavenly Parents can really pour out tremendous blessing. Aju, and then you can truly be happy. This is what Father said. I gave you, you know, absolute obedience is required for you for your joy and happiness. This is really, really true, really amazing. That's why we are really so fortunate living in this time with our beloved true parents. So we have to keep our absolute obedience to Heavenly Parents and true parents. Aju, so thank you. With that, I wish you all the best for today. To have victorious day, and May you be happy all the time and always be healthy. Thank you very much. God bless you. Kamsahamnida. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Let us offer our gratitude to our Heavenly Parent and true parents, and to our beloved national leader, Reverend Leo Angel Halog, for that wonderful message this morning. Let us give a hand to our national leader. Yes, truly, absolute obedience is not easy, but I can really testify that being obedient to our able can uh, save save us. Yeah, because many times also I experienced that. Yeah, thank you so much, Sir LA, for that wonderful message this morning. Yeah. Um, Today, like many people, like many members are joining in our morning devotion. Like, a while ago, we reached like 216 are joining um, for today's morning devotion. And let's invite more brothers and sisters to join with us. And I would like also to recognize the presence of our leaders joining with us this morning. The couple of Dr. Robert and Tita Kitel. Thank you so much po for joining, and for the Vice Regional Director, Sir Julius also is joining with us today, and also our Reverend Ronnie Sadusta. Thank you so much for joining. And the national leader of Sri Lanka, Sir Edgar Tanate, is also here with us. So our Sir Venus, Dr. Venus, is also joining with us, and the couple of Tito Jaime and Shirley Vergara. Let us recognize the presence of our leaders joining with us today. Thank you so much po.
Thank you very much to all our leaders who are joining. I'm sorry because my signal is not so good. I couldn't see everybody in my screen. Yeah, thank you so much to Dr. Kito and Mrs. Kito, Sir Julius, and Ate Ayako, and also Sir Ronnie, and all our leaders. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much po. Now let us proceed to our reflection sharing. Is there anyone who wants to volunteer to share? Volunteer? None. So allow me to call from our elder first. Let us welcome from our commando, Mr. Dante Negre. Hello po. Good morning po.
Good morning.
Morning, Kuya Dante.
Good morning, Sir Julius. Good morning, everyone. Ano bang sabihin ko?
Kaya mo yan.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to give thanks to the leaders working hard. And all the members in the Philippines. This is my first time to be with you. Although the past morning devotion, I always try to look in my Facebook because of work. But this time I will take a challenge to to be with you. And I was touched by the message of Mom from Mindanao, that when he says after retirement, God given another chance to work, but a better or a more higher purpose working. Second is I was also touched by our national leader message of absolute obedience and with no deviation. I think for me, I could only measure the obedience in me when there are responsibilities that are given. Because as my personal reflection or personal say on my life of faith. Since I've been in Japan, I miss the work that I used to do, like witnessing, especially fundraising and the food raising. But when I came to Japan, I spent much on working and family. Of course, there are years in my life that I've been guiding my brothers and sisters. And when all those missions that they had given to us, I mean heaven given to us, those are the times when I see in myself the obedience. But when I have nothing to do, I cannot really see the obedience in me because I focus on the external work. That's why I was so happy when there are activities that the PhilJap are involved. And that's the time when the power of determination and loyalty comes out in me. And I think the only inspiration I have, and that makes me keep on going in my life of faith, the promise that I have when I bow in front of, when the family, when my family and I bow in front of the holy body of the true parents, true father, that I have to keep on moving and to keep on going no matter what. And I think I was also, and I think it comes because when mother started to take the full responsibility of the church, I was always inspired when he says, let us bring back the spirit of our new, when the church are still new on the pioneer stage. When he says, let us make our church, when somebody comes, they feel like their home, which is full of love. Brothers and sisters, this is, just want to share with you. It's maybe because of the attitude of sometimes very friendly like this. So God showing me our members have been separated their ways to us in Japan. To mention is I met brother Teddy Manzano. I met brother Ray Decena, and some others. When I talk with them, especially some of them cried, and then I realized they open up their situations and they open up their problems. And I never tell anything of what they have done, but I always tell to them, don't worry, anyway, God had remembered what you have done in the church. True parents had remembered them. Just make your life a better life now. I encourage them to be more better while they are away from us, but encouraging them to be a part of us. Like when I told one of the brother, I told them, why not try to reconnect yourself when this is in the individual talking, and I think he promised to come. But anyway, it's already a different topic. But again, I was so happy when we have the activities to show my my obedience to God and to parents. It's really true when you are nothing to do, connecting to our mission, you cannot see that loyalty you have. This is my own personal, because I focus my own external work. But when I heard of like mobilization or whatever mission in the Philippines that the PhilJap involved, I was always happy to do. I always happy and determined to do and to contribute. And again, I am grateful with our young leaders, and you are really my inspiration to keep on going to. And I wish to go back in the Philippines and work with you. So I've been always asking now, what can we still, or can I still be a part of the front line? Because I think I tell one time to Brother Rapi, I wish to spend my life to be the same what I have done, what we had been doing when the first time we joined the church. I told to Brother Rapi one time when we are talking together, and I think sooner or later maybe this will happen. Again, thank you, Brother, to our national leader, Brother LA, to our Vice President of Asia Pacific, the two great young leaders, Dr. Malik Dem and Dr. another one? Dr. Ronnie. I'm sorry because I'm not really familiar with that Dr. Ronnie, but I've been hearing the name, especially now that they've been leader. Thank you for investing your heart, guiding our country together with our national leader. And thank you also to our Dr. Mr. and Mrs. Vergara, who have been working hard until now. And everyone have been helping the Philippine Church to expand and to fulfill what our true mother expectation. Thank you and God bless po.
Yes, thank you so much, Tito
Thank
Dante,
you,
for your
Manang Dante.
sharing. Yes.
Bakit niyo ako hinuli?
Yes. Inspiring message po. Yeah. We really inspire from the testimony of our elders. Yeah. We keep on moving also because of seeing our elders still working in the front line. Let us give a hand once again to our Tito Dante and all our elders who really working so hard in the front line. Thank you so much po for that. Now, let us also hear from second generation. Yeah. Is there any second gen who wants to volunteer to share? Yeah, we want to hear from second generation. Okay, I will call. Let us welcome to share Miss Naomi Olohoy.
Good morning. Good morning, hello parents and true parents. Good morning, our dear leaders, our national leaders, Sir LA, and of course, Sir Ronnie, brothers and sisters. Oh, I knew it. My heart was beating really fast somehow. I knew I would be called. Yes, actually, this topic today during our morning devotion is something that I really needed to hear. And especially because we've just entered a new year. excuse me, just yesterday, um, I believe that all of us, not including our elders, brothers and sisters, and my fellow second generation, needed some guidance on how to proceed with our lives wherever we are, whether in the front line or still preparing ourselves to become offerings to our Heavenly Parent and true parents. Okay, pardon me. I really want to appreciate also our elders and brothers and sisters who continue to work hard and really show absolute obedience to our Heavenly Parent and true parents. From you, we are learning, and from your foundation, um, we are very blessed to stand upon that. I will just share my determination. I am actually very stubborn. Ever since I was a child, I was really stubborn. When I'm determined to do something, it's very hard to stop me, or it's very hard to turn me back. And when I read True Parents, True Father's autobiography before, I would laugh at, how similar also I am, burning fire when you start doing something. But I guess, actually, I was also guided by the reading earlier, the sharing of our national leader, which said we should not make any excuses, because I believe, although being stubborn is a good quality in terms of mission, of course, that you are, you won't be affected by your circumstances. But I believe it should also be anchored upon our Heavenly Parents' directions. And when we look at things based on our own perspective, or, we judge things thinking that it is according to Heavenly Parents' directions, it's our original mind telling us to do, it can be very dangerous. And not just, of course, that's based on my personal experience and my observation, of course. So that's why it's really a challenge, a personal challenge, and I guess a challenge to everyone to always have self-denial. I guess that's the thing that I really need to overcome, for me to become a good follower, for us to become pure offerings to our Heavenly Parent and true parents. Our intentions should always be pure. Our minds should always be anchored upon Heavenly Parents' longing and wishes. And yes, I guess that's my reflection today. And I'm just really glad also to hear the reflections of others. That is all. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much, Sister Naomi, for your sharing. Let us give our love to our Sister Naomi. Yes, thank you. So there is a volunteer from NLPP, a second gen, who's in NLPP this time. Let us welcome Sister Yazel Kadile. And Kuya Ruel. Hello.
morning, everyone. Hello po.
Yes, go ahead.
Narinig niyo po ako?
Not clear. There is a background sound.
Hello, good morning po.
And clear na. Thank you.
Okay na po? Yes, hello, good morning.
Please turn off the other device, the audio of the other device, then, because there is an echo.
Hello.
Turn off the other device.
Hello po.
Okay.
Yes, good morning, everybody, all the leaders and brothers and sisters all over the world. So, yeah, for today's guidance, it was so amazing as a young people today. I was again reminded how to have that kind of absolute obedience, especially to God and to parents and to my central figures and to my parents also. So I'm happy to be in this kind of situation that still I have my elders who really reminded us as a young second generation. I need to really understand deeply how to have that kind of absolute obedience to towards God's will, also towards my central command to me. So I was so inspired for the guidance for today. Uh, Thank you so much also for all the leaders who really dare to guide. Also as a second generation, absolute faith, love, and obedience to our true parents. So obedience, as I realized for this guidance today, obedience is very important, but not just only having an obedience, but also how to totally submit our heart towards our true parents, towards our heavenly parents, and especially towards our. So yeah, I thank you so much for this day's guidance for all the leaders. Actually, I was so inspired seeing all those old members here in this Zoom meeting, because we here in NLTP as a young generation, we can really motivate more ourselves and determine more ourselves to do more also, so that our next generation can become they can have a good life also. So thank you so much for this day. Thank you for all the guidance and for the inspiration. That's all. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Sister Yaziel, for sharing. Let us give a hand to our Sister Yaziel. Thank you, and thank you for all our brothers and sisters, elders who reflect this morning. Thank you. This time, our national leader was disconnected, and yeah, uh, they are traveling now, going to Trece. So for the final word, yeah, before we end our morning hunduke, let us hear from our beloved Vice Regional President, Sir Dr. Julius B. Malikdem.
Thank you very much, all leaders, brothers and sisters joining us in this morning devotion. Thank you to our national leader, Kuya LA, for the wonderful guidance. Actually, always we talk about absolute faith, absolute love, and absolute obedience. However, obedience is the foundation of faith and the foundation of love. So that is why, if you notice, even in the Old Testament, the offering, we usually choose animals that are very obedient, right? So, like a sheep or a lamb, because if you choose to offer animals that are aggressive and then they don't want to be offered, then it's not a good offering. So that's why basic attitude of obedience is, as mentioned already, centering on true parents' words, is self-denial. Self-denial. We were trained, since we started our life of faith. How many times have you denied yourself? Maybe not only once, twice, 100 times, many times. It's like every day is self-denial. From the moment you wake up, and then immediately you start connecting everything to our heavenly parents, to our true parents, and then deny your own way of thinking. Actually, this is not easy. That's why every day is a training for us. So that is why the basis of our life of faith starts from obedience, because this is where Adam and Eve started to deviate from God. They have their own self-awareness. They started to think their own way of thinking, and that started the process of the fall. That is why the only way to be restored, there is no other way actually. We can think of other process or any strategy to go back to God, but there's no other way. First step is to deny myself and obey. So that is why even true parents have been an example of absolute obedience all their lives. And so, on our life of faith, brothers and sisters, I see we have many young brothers and sisters who are joining us. It doesn't matter whether you have been long time in the movement or very young, but important is our attitude, our daily attitude. So we always have to check our motivation, and then that measure is always based on how much I deny myself today, how much I denied myself yesterday. So this is the way that we can grow our hearts. This is the way that we can go back to our Heavenly Parents. So thank you for this guidance about absolute obedience. So Happy New Year to all brothers and sisters. Let's welcome the year of the white ox, the year of sacrifice, obedience, endurance, humility, calmness, and also emphasizing in the year of the ox is hard work. So let's do more and contribute more for the providence. Thank you. Let's have a great day today. Kamsahamnida.
Yes, thank you so much, Sir Julius. Let us give a hand to our Sir Julius for that
Kamsahamnida.
message. Thank you so much po, sir. Yeah, may I request Tito Dante for our closing prayer.
Join me with my prayer. Good morning, loving Heavenly Father and true parents. Father, we are so grateful today that we can come together. Though we might not be in physical, Father, but through Zoom, we can come together, Father, and praise our true parents, our true mother. Also grateful that you had given us a chance and opportunity to be able to meet them during our lifetime. And we can work with them, Father. May we ask you to continuously guide our leaders, give them the wisdom, good health, so that, Father, they could be able to lead, especially our country, to contribute, Heavenly Father, for the realization of your will and your desire. We know that at this point of time, Father, we are facing a great challenge. But of this challenge, Father, we set in our heart and our mind to be more determined to fulfill, Father, the mission that you have entrusted to us, wherever we are, in whatever situation we may have. We are always determined, Father, to fulfill what our true parents wanted us to fulfill. Through the guidance of our leaders, Father, we can be connected and we can be able, Father, to share, to carry the burden or to fulfill, Father, your expectation, especially the country or our country, Philippines, that heaven have been expecting, Father, that together we can really show and give hope. Heavenly Father, again, we are so grateful for the message of our national leader, obedience, Father, and we pray that we may continuously live in obedience to the will of God and to the will of our true parents. Again, thank you for this wonderful opportunity that we can come together as one family. May you bless this day, may you bless each one of us. I would like to offer this prayer in my name, Dante and Yokari, and I greet blessed family.
Let us offer our individual prayer. Adieu. 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 Let us offer our gratitude to our Heavenly Parents, true parents. 감사합니다. To all our leaders, elders, brothers, and sisters, thank you and good morning. Thank you so much for joining our morning devotion. And
Thank you
to
so
all
much.
our friends here this morning.
Morning.
Thank
Morning,
you.
everyone.
Morning, everybody.
Morning, Sister Yen. Good morning.
Good morning.
Kasi anytime nakita ko kayo, good morning.
Bye.
Good evening na rin.
Thank you
Para
so
good morning
much.
natin bukas.